PharmaVentures, experts in deals and alliances.
Welcome to PharmaVentures Insights at Biotech and Money in London. Cellular immunotherapy is a massive space in the pharmaceutical and biotech space these days. There's a French company based in Nice that's working on just this to treat inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. Today on the show I have with me Stéphane Boissel, CEO of TxCell. Welcome, Stéphane.
Thank you. Good morning.
So, we just started talking about cellular immunotherapy, and so can you tell me a bit about what TxCell is doing in this space?
Sure. So TxCell is using a cell population that we call regulatory T cells or Tregs, and those cells have a natural property to inhibit inflammatory processes. And they have been discovered like 20 years ago, and they have well-known properties to fight inflammation in the context of autoimmune disorder, for example, such as Crohn's disease, for example, multiple sclerosis, but also in what we call transplantation-related disorders.
So the company started quite a while ago, about 15 years ago, and in 2015 you had to pivot the company in a slightly different way. Could you walk us through that process?
Sure. And actually the company was started well before my time. I joined the company in 2015. And for the first 15 years of the company, it has been focused on the same biology, the biology of those regulatory T cells or Tregs. But at that time they were looking for what we call natural antigen specificity, so no genetic modification. And this initial discovery went up to clinical validation in Crohn's disease. And then in 2015 we realized that although the technology seems to work in patients, since we had some early sign of possible clinical efficacy, we were going to have difficulties to bring it to commercial viability, since the manufacturing process was kind of challenging. So 2 years ago we've decided to pause on the initial technology, continue to work on what we know, i.e. the biology of those cells, but trying to introduce antigen specificity with, let's say, modern tools. And so we started at the time to use CAR, that is well known as a tool to find antigen specificity with T effector in cancer. So we started to use this CAR, but not with a T effector to fight cancer, but introducing those CAR or transducing those CAR into a Treg to fight autoimmunity and inflammatory disorder. So exactly like we were doing before with, let's say, a totally natural solution, now we've moved to a more modern way to address antigen specificity in those kind of disease. So it was a big change, since at that time we didn't have exactly the expertise. There was very little known or publication or science on this new technology, and so we more or less started from a greenfield. The only asset we had when we did that shift was the understanding of the biology of those cells, which is kind of unique, and those cells are now starting to be, let's say, in flavor in the industry as a potential therapeutic tool to fight those diseases.
So Stéphane, you mentioned a few different therapeutic areas, starting with Crohn's, etc., and you have multiple programs with a plan to go into man for the first time next year, which will be a great milestone for you. When you chose the different programs, how did you end up with these therapeutic areas? Was there a strategy? How?
Yeah, of course. Well, we are basically trying to answer to three groups of questions. Is there a role of Tregs in this particular disease? And there is an abundant literature, because the biology of the cells is well described, mostly by academic labs. Can the Treg play a role in that particular disease? For example, Crohn, MS, or whatever the autoimmune disease. Second, we ask the question as to whether there is an unmet medical need in one of these diseases. And unfortunately for the patient, in most of the disease, and you are talking about a group of more than one of the disease, you still can't find unmet medical need. And last but not least, we ask the question of whether we can build a product targeting that unmet medical need with a Treg. And that the main question behind this big question is, can we find the right antigen to target? And the antigen is, of course, a key component in what we do, because we need to find an antigen that is very selectively present in the tissue where we will be fighting the inflammation associated with the autoimmune disease.
immunotherapy seems to be very big these days. I mean, regardless of whether you're a biotech, a big pharma company, everybody wants to be in immunotherapy and everybody's interested. And recently we've seen a few approved therapies, such as Novartis CAR T therapy, Gilead as well. What's your view on where the industry is going in this space?
Well, this is excellent news. I mean, this technology has been a scientific dream for 20 years. It became a clinical reality a few years ago, and now it's soon going to be a commercial reality. So being a player in this space and coming with a radically different approach, I can only see good news with these two pioneering drugs reaching marketing stage. So again, I think we are at a very important time for the industry, and the future really looks bright.
And it must be very encouraging for you and the rest of TxCell.
Absolutely, and I can tell you I thank all these pioneers because they have been doing a lot of very painful stuff to develop their drug. They have been paving the way from the manufacturing viewpoint, they have been paving the way from a regulatory viewpoint, and what they have done is basically making my life easier.
Well, talking about your life, you have an interesting pathway to becoming the CEO of TxCell. Should we go through your life and see where you've come and how you ended up here?
Oh, sure. I'm kind of a bizarre animal in this world because I have a background as an investment banker, and I joined the industry 15 years ago. I've been CFO of two publicly listed companies in France, and then it's my second CEOship at TxCell. I joined TxCell in 2015 when we had to transition to this new technology, and I think I will be here for a long time.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Stéphane, and all the best with your Treg, CAR Treg therapies for treating patients around the world.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
For more information about PharmaVentures, visit our website